With Season 14's new item changes on live servers, there's a lot more variety in what you can build for Kindred. Mythics are out and a bunch of new items are in, while some items got taken away such as Gore Drinker and Divine Sunderer. However, the problem with build diversity is it can be very confusing to know when to build what items. So, in this video, I'm going to go through all of Kindred's viable build paths and show you the typical itemization that comes with it. Before we start, I want to make it clear that this guide of Kindred's build paths are entirely of my opinion and are based on the games I played on PvE, live servers, and statistics from Lethality, as the other websites have yet to be updated. To start off, Lethality Kindred builds with the new Voltaic Cycle Sword feel very lackluster and is, in my opinion, outright terrible to play. There are simply better and more consistent options to snowball your lead in the early game. The main problem with Lethality Kindred is that you have to commit to playing Glass Cannon Lethality and buying Berserker Greaves since rushing Voltaic gives you no attack speed. And to continue the Lethality build, you would either go Collector and another Lethality item which would make you very squishy with no resistances. So, your core build would look something like Voltaic Cycle Sword, Berserker Greaves, Collector, and some other lethality or armor shredding items such as Herald's Grudge. This build gives no attack speed, no resistances, no health, weak burst damage, weak sustained damage, and a very squishy Kindred. So overall, I'd say Lethality Kindred builds is in a D tier and is a no-go. You should never ever build it unless you're playing for fun. Next up is Crit Kindred. A typical build would look something like this, where you build Kraken Slayer, Boots, Collector, and Infinity Edge. I'd say this build path is very good when picked into the right team comps. For example, building full crit is very bad against champs that build lots of armor and in general just have lots of resistances, and it's even worse if your team does not have a way to deal with those champs. So champs such as Sion, Ornn, Malphite, Zac, Udyr, Rammus, Sejuani, Leona, Alistar, Poppy, etc. However, crit is very good into comps that don't build resistances and doesn't build too much HP, and if you need your E execute proc to do lots of damage to win those skirmishes or teamfights. So champs such as Hecarim, Lucian, Tristana, Tryndamere, Akshan, and Vex. And if you do decide to build crit and you get ahead early, you can also opt into buying resistances yourself such as Randuin's, Frozen Heart, Wit's End, and even Jak'Sho. Overall, I would rank Crit Kindred builds as S tier for its viability and since it's a really good build path if picked into the right team comps. Before we get into the last build, I'd just like to say that the gameplay footage you see on screen are all from yesterday's placement games, which I streamed over on twitch.tv/tritsu_. And I stream pretty much all my games there, and it would be pretty awesome to have some of you guys in chat. Last but not least, on-hit Kindred still reigns supreme. This build path has always been the best build path for Kindred for all of last season, and with the new Terminus item and board changes, on-hit Kindred is insanely good this season. Your typical build path would look something like this, where you would go Trinity Force, Boots, Terminus or Bork or both, Wit's End, and you'd go for situational items after. Trinity Force this season is changed where you get an extra 5 AD, but the stacking base AD from last season is removed, and the on-hit MS went down from 5 to 2 seconds. However, this item is still extremely good because it's a very well-rounded item because it gives you health, ability haste, and an extra 5 AD, which Kindred all loves. This solves the issue of being too class canon with the lethality builds and being too reliant on your E-proc to do damage with your crit build. Trinity allows you to be durable, do very good burst damage with the chain activations, have very good sustained damage when paired up with Conqueror, and have very good kiting power with the on-hit MS. After building Trinity and your tier 2 boots, you now have to make a choice between Terminus or Bork. Terminus is the new item that gives you stacking armor and magic resist on hit, and stacking armor and magic resist shred on hit. and it also gives you 30 magic damage on hit. Keep in mind that the stacking resists are alternating between light and dark auto attacks. You would need to build this item first if you need the hybrid resistance shred to deal with the tanks or champs building resistances. Bork this season still deals the 9% current health damage for ranged users, but no longer deals the extra magic damage burst, but instead grants you a 15-second cooldown slow on hit. You would need to build Bork if you are against champs that don't build resistances but instead build lots of health. To put it simply, Terminus for armor and magic resist shred, and Bork for HP stackers. Then you would go into Wit's End, since now it gives you 55% attack speed, 50 MR, and most importantly, 20% tenacity. The on-hit passive is still the same, but the fact that Kindred would build this item last season and is now heavily buffed is completely broken against CC champs, which are mostly AP damage dealers, which works out even better. Last split's on-hit item rush was Kraken Slayer, and some of you guys might be wondering why it's not on here. This is simply because Kraken Slayer is tremendously outdamaged by Bork and Terminus. Therefore, you should never build it unless you're doing the crit Kindred variation. After Wit's End, there are many directions you can take this build with. You can go more on-hit items such as Titanic Hydra and Runons, or you can build defensively like Guardian Angel and Quicksilver Sash. Overall, with this build path, you are a beefy damage dealing bruiser with lots of resistances and lots of on-hit damage, so I'll have to rank this S tier. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more content like this. I plan to release lots of content this year to launch the channel, and if you have any questions about the builds shown or Kindred or jungle in general, feel free to leave a comment. I will also leave a MobaFire guide linked in the description below for anyone who's wanting a reference on the builds shown in this video. Anyways, that's it for the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.